Hello and welcome back to Call Clutter Fairy, where I help you get clutter free so that you can live stress free. This week I want to talk to you about one of the most common things I come up against when I'm meeting new clients, and that's the feeling of being overwhelmed by your clutter. I'd like to ask you a couple of questions. Are you avoiding an area in your home because every time you walk into it, it's completely overwhelming? Or have you gone looking for something and you can't find it? Worse yet, have you bought something that you know you have, but since you can't locate it and you need it, you spend money on that item again? If you answered yes to any of these, then this week's video was just for you. So let's go. The very first thing that I want to say is it is so normal and okay to feel overwhelmed. These marketers spend billions of dollars to encourage and entice you to buy these things that you think you need. And once you get them home, you don't always have a home for it, so it just gets set in the first open place that you have. It's okay to feel overwhelmed. It's so normal, and I want you to know that. The second thing I want to say is if you're ready to tackle an area, set the timer. I am a broken record with this, but it's so much easier to tackle something if you've already committed to a set amount of time. It gives your brain that knowledge that I only have to do this for X amount of time and then I'm done. So set that timer for 15, 30 minutes and tackle it. Once you've set that timer, start small. I always start organizing by picking categories. So when you walk into that area that's really making you feel overwhelmed, pick one small category, whether it's junk mail, empty boxes, old electronics, photographs, it doesn't matter, but keep going through that area and just look for that one thing. It helps you to stay focused, and once that whole category that you have found is isolated, it's so much easier to make decisions on what to keep and what to get rid of. So as you're going through this area and you've started breaking down your categories, one of the things I know you're going to come up against are gifts. And what I want to say about gifts that you get is, how many gifts do you remember giving to people? Do you remember every single thing you've ever bought for someone? My guess is your answer is no. And what that leads me to is it's okay for you to get rid of things that have been given to you. Oftentimes, the person that's giving you items really just wants that gesture. They want you to know that they thought of you on this special occasion, that they care about you, and in doing so, they might have given you something that the thought was wonderful, but the item wasn't an exact hit. So acknowledge the gesture and give that item to someone who might find better value in it. It's okay to give away gifts that you've received that you don't love. This is a hard one, but I want you to think about that feeling of being overwhelmed right now as you're looking at things that you're keeping for the future generation. If you're holding on to your grandmother's china and you feel overwhelmed with it, but you don't want to part with it just in case your niece or your grandchild might want it, ask them a quick question right now. And if they're already in their teens and they're not showing any interest in it, let it go. It's pretty easy to replace patterns these days, but if you are planning on giving boxes and boxes of your great aunt or great grandmother's items, really all you're doing is passing on the stress and feeling of overwhelmment to the next generation. Keep that in mind as parents. If you're keeping all of this paperwork for your kids and you're already thinking, good gosh, what am I going to do with all of this? That's the feeling that you're passing on to your kids. Pick a few of your favorites, take digital copies, and that way it's not such an overwhelming amount for your future generations to get. They could still look back at the digital copy and go, wow, that was really cool. And if it's a really unique diorama that they made and you have the room for it, go ahead and save it, but it's okay to not keep every item. This is my greatest tip, and it's probably the hardest one for most of you to do. But if you've got an overwhelming garage, storage room, office, commit to not shopping for any new things until that room is done. And here's why. If you're already struggling with where to put the items that you have, and you're adding on new items and buying new things, you're just further complicating and overwhelming yourself. So what I recommend is once you have that area completely organized and you have a home for everything, then you can go ahead and resume shopping. But I suggest going in with the rule, whatever amount of items that you bring in that are new, that equal amount or more needs to go out. So if you buy 3 new items of clothing, then before you put it in your closet, 3 items need to go away. This keeps a balance and prevents you from ever getting overwhelmed and overcluttered again. So as you're going through your items, you might be coming across things going, oh, I might need this someday, or gosh, what if I regret getting rid of this later? Here's my answer to that. If it's an item that's easily replaced, don't worry about it. Get rid of it. If you do decide, oh man, I could have used those scrapbook supplies, it's so easy to replace those things now. Let it go. Don't take up that space. If it's something that's harder to obtain again and you're really not sure, I suggest making a time capsule. Get a bin, put that item in with a sticky note on it or pin a piece of paper to it with a date. If it's a seasonal item, give yourself a year. If it's just a miscellaneous item, set a date within 6 months to 2 years at the most. And when that date comes up, if you haven't used that item, it's further proof to go ahead and get rid of it. My last tip for you guys is be realistic. I know it's so easy to watch these shows on TV and to go online and see all of these wonderful organizing groups, and Pinterest is a wealth of amazing pictures. I've got my office back here and it looks wonderful, but if I were to show you the rest of my area in this garage, you would see what real living is. And I'll show you a picture. Look at that. So give yourself a break. We live in our homes, we have active lives, and we have other people in our families that contribute to our daily habits. So cut yourself a break. Not everything can be picture perfect all of the time, but work on setting up realistic systems for you and your family and tweak them as often as you can so that you can make it work for you. You guys, that's all I have for this week's video. I sincerely hope that some of these tips helped you to face some areas that might be overwhelming you. If it did, please comment below on which tip you liked the most. Also, don't forget to click that subscribe button. I do put new videos up every week, and I'd love to see you on each and every one. Until then, see you next week.